Crossing my fingers here. But I kind of came across this concept, and it's something that I wanted to just kind of pitch out there as like something to think about. I was trying to figure out if there's a way to quantify, what a good esports player is, specifically with Heroes of the Storm because, I love this game. But when I think about it, I don't know if they're really, well, I think this actually could apply towards all esports, really. So, and I'll kind of give you a backstory here. So, and I'll try to do a quicker version than I was doing the first time. Maybe I was talking so much that it just crashed the internet, which could happen, I'm sure. But so basically, it was something that was brought up. I watched this video, and they referenced Moneyball, and then I started thinking about some things, and I was like, I wonder if you can technically Moneyball Heroes of the Storm, or just a video game, competitive video game in general. So let me kind of familiarize you a little bit with that movie if you're not familiar. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know it word for word. I know the general concepts. I just love the movie though. Has to do with statistics, has to do with, being competitive in sports. And there was a time in my life where I was um, uh, pretty into baseball actually. I haven't watched it in years though, like years. But the concept of, well, basically the movie and kind of what the general manager for the Oakland A's at the time, Billy Beane, what he did was pretty revolutionary for that sport. If you haven't watched the movie, or if you want to get a quick version of the movie, I'm sure there's a lot of people that have posted stuff about it, on YouTube or something. Just check it out. Pretty interesting, especially if you're into statistics and into just being competitive on that front. Now, and I wanted to figure out if there's something that can be applied to what I currently do. Just because I spend so much time playing this game. Um, but it's interesting though because in the movie, just to kind of give you a quick backstory, the Oakland A's are a small market team, and you can kind of find a lot of these types of teams in all varieties of sports, whether it's the NFL, whether it's basketball or the NBA, hockey, probably all the sports, right? And what's interesting is because the Oakland A's were considered a small market team, and they were trying to figure out how to be competitive and win, the whole basically the World Series. And I think the opponent they used was the New York Yankees, and I don't even know what the budget is now. I mean, I don't know if they have a cap for baseball. I know for basketball they do to some degree, that they have to work within. So then it's kind of like trying to figure out like, okay, if we're trying to compete with guys that have way more money or three times more money as an example, like how do we actually compete and actually win? So the whole story was fascinating. The concept was fascinating, and they basically figured out a statistic that they could basically go to that actually mattered, where other ball clubs at the time were looking at, you know, seemingly obviously other statistics, but at the end of the day, it's not actually what mattered. Like, for example, home runs is huge, strikeouts, batting average, ERA. Those are a lot of the things that people would look at um, and value until, obviously this philosophy came around, and, they were winning with that philosophy as an example. And I believe it ended up being like they were trying to buy runs, and to do that, they had to figure out how do people get on base. So then I think they were looking at on base percentage, or a combination of like people that were walking. Anyway, I might be misquoting that part, but you kind of get the idea. So basically, undervalued statistics, or other statistics out there that you could look to say, hey, this person is doing the right thing, or this person is being successful, or whatever, right? Now, it's interesting when I started trying to apply that model to Here's the Storm, or really just esports in general. I don't think there technically is a way right now that the users have access to. Now, for example, like in game, there's like somewhat limited access for what we actually get, right? There's highest win rate with the heroes, you got map record, you got most wins by a character, you got deaths, you got kills, you got assists. Awesome. And then if you go over, just to give you an idea, if you've never seen this before, it kind of tells you the games you played, percentages, things like that. Of course, it doesn't do like, hey, what was your talent build? Hey, what was your, your makeup like? Like, who were your other four opponents? Like, what map did you actually win on? So it's somewhat limited. But even if we approach it from that angle, this is all stuff that happened already. It's not data that happened during the game, right? And I think that would be valuable. Now, for example, like League of Legends, which is a MOBA as well. And be super surprised if you haven't heard about it at this point. And just so you know, I'm doing this video on the 13th of May of 2021. Literally like almost a week before the patch, well, supposedly the patch is going to come that will change the game up a little bit because it's been pretty stagnant for a while for us. But having said that, though, the statistics that we get at the end of our games are all they're just after the fact, right? Whether it's damage dealt or heals or um, I don't know, they do like some kind of like shielding or protection or something like self heals or I don't know. I can't remember. I have to look at the statistics at the end again. But they've got kills and deaths and assists and all of those different types of things. But they also track a lot of other stuff that they just don't make digestible, right? Like if they've added, like if you die and you're not sure what you died from, you can actually look and see what you died from. Like, was it a KT fireball or Kael'thas fireball as an example, or was it I don't know, was it a Greymane curse bullet into a couple auto attacks or whatever, right? So they have that information there, and I'm really, really curious because I'm not a programmer, how much of that information, like they might not even know, like they might be tracking all this stuff and have no idea even what it looks like now. And it's interesting because I kind of wonder like what actually determines a good player, right? Because if you think about it, all the roles are going to be a little different. Depending on the role of your character, your damage output might be a little different. Of course, it could be against the makeup or the opponents, things like that. But basically what I'm getting at, it's like there's all these variables and all of it is after the fact. So you're trying to determine your best results at the beginning of the game before, and basically you're saying, hey, this is what we think will happen if we do these things, and then this is what will, and then obviously what happens after the game. So what I'm getting at is that, obviously you got all the drafting scenarios, what has been banned, what hasn't been banned, there's all those types of variables too, what does your team synergy look like, all of those things. Are we de-synergizing or are we synergized? Obviously you got things like mechanics for different people. all these like different variables. But right now it's like we don't, at least for regular players, unless you have a programming background and can somehow figure out how to derive all this data. And if you guys do have programming data out there, I'd love to do a project with you. I can't pay you anything, but I would love to be part of something just to kind of get more understanding of this game that I enjoy so much. And really what's interesting is the way we go about it. So right now we can look at videos and look at film, essentially, look at replays, and we can determine maybe this was a better judgment call or in the moment, or maybe you should have done this differently, or maybe you should have been in this bush to scout for your team better, or maybe you should have waited to engage, or maybe you should have been there when the person engaged and you were doing something else that you shouldn't have been. There's all these like little variables, right? And the thing is, though, I kind of wonder if you were to put that as best you could in a statistical format, if there's a story to tell there as well. So I am going to do a project. Now, here's the thing. The Moneyball concept obviously has to deal with like, who's the best undervalued person to get you the best results. Obviously, unless you're in the pro, and they do have a pro scene, which they pay everyone exactly the same right now. Like, how do you determine who is a better player, who's worth the money, blah, 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 right? And right now it's very subjective, and some of it might be on track as far as like, hey, this ranged assassin got 11 kills, like 11 assists and 0 deaths. That's a great stat line. But then again, maybe the tank or the healer is covering to make sure they stay alive, because they know at the end of the day they're the ones that are going to get the kills. I don't know if that's the case, but as an example, like, how many of the other people sacrifice and actually make good decisions to help the team overall, and is that even tracked or is that even looked at? Um, but I was kind of wondering if there was a way to, I guess, notate and document, or if there's even statistics right now that even exist as far as like, hey, we can look to this statistic. Now it's interesting. I looked this up, and there might be stuff on Reddit already about this. I don't know. I never get on it. Shame on me, right? But basically I came across the video, and it was like 4 years ago. It had to do with League of Legends, and there was just conversation that a couple fans did, and they were both thinking about it, and they came to kind of similar conclusion that there just, even in League of Legends, is many people that play the game, there just wasn't data they could just look at and be like, hey, this is what this person should be doing, or whatnot. And I kind of agree to an extent with Heroes of the Storm, but I kind of wonder if, okay, so there's a couple different avenues this can go. Like, how can you tell a player is doing the right thing, and then how can you tell a team is doing the right thing? So when I thought about my own individual project, and again, I don't have a computer background, I don't like do any of that stuff. I wish I did, honestly, because I have a lot of statistical like questions I have about things. But I was kind of wondering if there was a way to document that in game, or figure out a way to make that happen. So I have an idea, and if you guys like the idea and want to see the results, um, let me know in the comments. If you see this later, give it a thumbs up. Right now I've got like 9 YouTube followers, which is fantastic, because I think a month ago or 2 months ago I had like 2. So it's amazing. Love it. But if you like any of this content, obviously, thumbs up. But I had an idea that, because we just finished our NGS season, we're Division C. It's going to be a very, very small sample size, but it's data that I have, because since the beginning of this year of 2021, I've recorded anytime that our team has gotten together for Storm League practice, for scrims, for NGS games. So I'm actually just going to take the small sample size of the NGS games, and I think it was about 26, even including playoff games. And I wanted to see if there was a way to track data, not for people, because that seems like a crazy big project, but I think I can do it. It just take forever. But basically eyeballing, as crazy as this sounds, eyeballing interactions within the game that give advantages or disadvantages to certain teams. I don't know if you guys can envision that. So I was kind of wondering if there's points of the game where there's like a tipping point of where a team can execute or should execute in order to net them the win in the end. And I don't know, maybe the project is going to be like a waste of time. And I'm like, gosh, if I can get through those 26 games, which are anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes, I don't even know how long it would be to do it. Like, I'm maybe an hour for each game, but maybe it's like more like 2 or 3. I don't even know. So who knows how much hours I'd put in to maybe get no results at all. But if you guys want me to do that and put myself through that, let me know, because I was thinking about doing it already. But I just might be more encouraged if more people are kind of curious about, what that even looks like. But yeah, I'm kind of curious your thoughts. Like, let me know if you guys have thought about this and some examples that you may have, or maybe even started a project like this and we just don't know about it. Like, I'd love to see it, love to share ideas and try to figure out a way. I think, there's just a handful of points in the game where I'm like, I wonder if there's a way to statistically monitor that, and if I were to do that, like, would it actually say anything? Would it just be a whole bunch of random information, or would there actually be some kind of correlation of behavior for the team in general, or players, that could actually equal a win in the end? Because, I mean, if you played Heroes of the Storms, there's like a huge comeback mechanic. It almost feels like you could, I don't know, mess around for the beginning part of the game and still kind of net a win with a big win or two at the end with the momentum swing, right? And maybe that's a hypothesis. Maybe it's like, as long as you're within a level or two, and get the one of the big wins at the end, right? Then maybe you win. I don't know. Maybe it's something that simple, and maybe it's so obvious. But I'm super, super curious um, what information I do find if I start digging. And again, this isn't. I mean, maybe this is recorded. I mean, if it was already somehow collected in a game, that would be fantastic. I would love to like get my hands on that information, even if even if you're collecting a whole bunch of information for the game already, like you already have like a app or an IP or API or whatever. I'd love to see the information to see if there's any correlation. But maybe if you guys don't have anything programmed, I don't know. Either way, fun conversation. Hopefully, it has some of you guys thinking. And then if I ever finish that project and the idea, I'll go ahead and share it over here and I don't know, talk to whomever is watching at the time. So again, if you like this stuff like this, go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. I've got a Twitch channel which is follow Robert. Just look me up there. Maybe I'll change in the future, but for now it's follow Robert. And then on YouTube it's Robert Hots, and that's kind of what it is right now. So always fun. You guys say hi to me if you guys see me over in the playing a game, because I might be queuing with you guys because I know a community is so small. And you guys take care. Bye.